So it's late November here in South Florida, and we've had a couple of really strong cold fronts, and that means pompano season. So the pompano are running good along the beach. So today we're going to show you how to make your own pompano rigs. You can buy them at the store, but the quality is hit or miss. If you want to make your own to ensure that you get the best possible rig, then we'll show you how to do that today. So the first key is to have a good quality fluorocarbon. This is 30-pound Yo-Zuri HD pink fluorocarbon. This is my favorite size to use. You could get away with lighter fluorocarbon if you try to land the fish. The problem is if you use lighter fluorocarbon, then you risk breaking it off when you're making casts with a longer rod, if you're making hard casts, especially into the wind. So 30-pound test is the right size for me. You want to take a nice long stretch of it. Make sure don't skimp on how much you pull off. And then you got a couple components. The first one, starting at the top of the rig, being a quality barrel swivel. So pretty simple, just uni knot to barrel swivel. You can use a Roscoe or an Andy swivel or Spro swivel, anything that is a good quality swivel that's not going to rust, because you want to be able to use these rigs for multiple trips. So you got your barrel swivel, and then the key is you can fish. A lot of guys will fish 3 dropper loops, 3 hooks on a rig. Personally, I only like to fish 2. I think you waste bait by fishing 3. So there's a number of ways to do a dropper loop. It's very simple. It's just a double line. There's a number of ways to do it. The one that I like is just pretty simple. You just make a loop with your fingers, and then you take that line, just with your other finger, make a couple turns, not too many or it's hard to tighten down, and then that tightens down, makes a nice dropper loop. You want your dropper loop to be even distance between the 2 loops and your swivel. And then on the bottom, what you want to do is get a snap. Now the snap that you get for this, you want plenty of clearance, because it depends on the type of weight you're going to be using. You want there to be plenty of clearance to be able to get your weight on. So pretty simple. You just again tie that on with a uni knot, and that's the majority of your rig. Now that you've got that, you've got the basic part of your rig. So if you want to store this rig for use in the future, you can store that just like it is right now with no hooks on it, and it won't get caught up. Or there's a couple other ways you can store it. My personal way is to take a pool noodle and cut off about 2 feet of a pool noodle, wrap it around it, put the hooks in the pool noodle. When you need it, you can unwrap it, take the hooks out, and it won't get tangled on anything. One key piece is to make sure you have floats. So you want to keep your rig relatively simple. Just like any other type of fishing, you're using fluorocarbon, so you got that advantage of not being able to see the line. You take a float, and that keeps your bait up and away from the crabs and in the strike zone. I like to use 2 white floats. You can use other colors, especially if it's dirtier water. You can use bright yellow or bright orange. I like white. The key for these floats is to find a really good hard float. The reason for that is there's a lot of crabs, calico crabs down here in South Florida, and the crabs will attack the floats. And if you have softer floats, they'll chew up your floats real quick, and you'll be replacing those a lot. These harder floats are much more durable when it comes to the crabs. For hooks, a lot of people use the Eagle Claw circle hooks. I like these Mustad Ultra Points. I think they last longer. The Eagle Claws tend to rust a little bit, but you can definitely use those as well. I've caught tons of fish on those. A 2.0 or a 3.0, depending on the size of the bait that you want to use. And you just take your double line, which you put through your float, and put it through the eye of the hook, which is easier said than done sometimes. Put it through the eye of the hook, and then you come tight with it. So what you have is your float on top of your weight. Your float on top of your hook, and really simple connection. So you want to do it same thing again on the dropper loop on the top. Got your float, and then your hook. You know, after you put the kids to bed at night, sit down on the couch. If you plan on going fishing the next day, make 5 or 6 rigs before you go, because you do get cut off by sharks, bluefish, mackerel, things like that. So now you got your hooks with both floats, you got your snap on the bottom, you got your swivel on the top, you're good to go. The weights that I like to use and a lot of people like to use down here really makes a difference when there's a lot of current or grass or the wind's blowing and you've got a, you know, some bigger chop or some rolling swell on the beach. Is, you know, this spider weight. So basically a Spudnik sinker. And the key for it is, you know, you just clip it on the bottom and it's good to go. The key with it is it locks the bait in the bottom, but when you get a fish and you go to reel it in, it disengages and then you can pull it through the water easily. The key is it holds bottom extremely well, but unlike a pyramid sinker, it's much more aerodynamic. You get a lot longer cast. I prefer to use the heaviest I can get away with for the rod. I can easily throw a 5 ounce on my rod. It gets me extra distance and it holds the bottom better. But if you have a lighter rod, you can get away with a 3 ounce in a lot of conditions too. You know, if it's flat calm, you can get away with pyramid sinkers, but I, as a rule, really like these Spudnik sinkers. So that's your total rig. You've got your clip with your sinker on the bottom. Make sure you close the clip. Then you've got your first hook with your float and circle hook, your second one, and then you got your swivel, which you're going to tie to your main line. You know, you can go with bait casting tackle. If you do that, you probably should fish. You typically are going to fish some kind of monofilament. You can fish Yo-Zuri hybrid line, which is a great combination of fluoro and monofilament. You know, 15 or 20 pound test, so you can make long casts. I fish spinning rods, so I do fish braid. You just have to keep an eye on it. You know, if you get a Jack Crevalle or something that, you know, doesn't take the rod in, loosen your drag a little bit just in case you get one of those bigger fish. But the braid allows me to cast a long ways, especially in the wind. And that's the total rig. So, you know, if you want to make your own rigs, it's pretty quick, less than 5 minutes to make each rig. You know, you can make 5 or 6 rigs in half an hour, and, you know, you're good to go for the next day. Get out there and catch some tasty pompano.